Alright fellas, here we're back Pokemon Masters, and today we're just taking a look here at Volo and Togepi at 5 out of 5, 6-star EX, level 150, EX rolled, and maxed grid energy. I've maxed the dude, alright. I figure with a character like Volo, it would be a bit odd to try and do a 1 out of 5 showcase, 3 out of 5, 5 out of 5, EX roll, those type of showcases, simply because for like a support or striker or any other character role, it's pretty straightforward. You look at how they do it 1 out of 5, you look at how their abilities improve, whether it be a striker's damage, attacks utility, maybe even damage, right? And then like a supportive ability. Field characters is mostly the same thing, except obviously a lot of their innate abilities are kind of techy based, so it's basically the same thing as a tech. Volo wants to be a jack of all trades. He wants to be maybe a nuker, a zone setter, a circle setter, a debuffer, a supportive type of character. So Volo's weird in that instance. So I figure, why look at a jack of all trades character with middling performance simply because of how low invested he is, and we'll invest to the maximum. Yeah, Volo's got a lot of good stuff about him, but a lot of it is also barely reaching not suitable standards, I guess. Like, there's a lot of ways they could have made this guy good. They could have made him good by making him set Fairy Zone infinitely upon using his buddy move. They could have made him a support EX role, would have really helped out a lot. They could have given him actual nuking multipliers, stuff like that, right? They could have made his buddy move infinitely, or like repeatedly usable instead of every other turn. There's a lot they could have done to make Volo look good, but they really held back, in my opinion. Either way, he's got a lot of abilities that we're going to look at, most notably his debuffing. He's got Sundering 9, Satisfied Snicker 9, Overwhelm 9, Business Opportunity, which is effectively Unfortuitous 9, but with extra steps, and then Unfortuitous 4 as a Lucky Cookie, Lucky Skill, rather. So he's got, what is that, 3, 4, 5 different chances to debuff stats. So we're going to look at him and at least look at that. But he's also got other abilities such as setting Fairy Zone for the first time he uses Metronome, as well as having a powerful Metronome which has high-powered attacks like Inferno, Hyper Beam, Blast Burn, Mega Horn, those type of moves. He's also got Sinnoh Solidarity, which is a defensive Sinnoh Circle which powers up ally attacks up to 20% and reduces damage from enemies by up to 25%, as well as also giving as well as also giving physical and special moves next when the move is used. His Metronome also gives physical and special moves next once it's used to all allies, so he's got a lot of good supportive ability with physical and special moves next. His trainer move is also selectable to be on an ally instead of just himself, which is very helpful for a character that can take the supportive role like Volo. So yeah. Other than that, there's some other abilities that we'll probably make mention of in the showcase, so I guess let's go ahead and hop into that, which this is going to be a longer showcase, simply because I wanted to look at Volo more since I'm doing less videos over him. Though I'll still, of course, use him in future videos unrelated to him specifically, right? But yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the showcase. Surprisingly, one of the first thoughts that I had when looking at Volo was, this guy could be a Diantha buff. I don't know why. I don't care much about Diantha, and I know that she is not great. Even at 3 out of 5, she's not fantastic. But either way, whatever. We're able to use the supportive role for Volo here in order to max out Diantha stats very quickly, as well as apply the Sinnoh Circle, debuff special attack, as well as set Fairy Zone, which is all really helpful for Diantha, right? We also have Bead here to haste in the special attack and special defense buffs, or debuffs rather, so that we can do damage, right? That's kind of the point. Either way, whatever. We go ahead and use the Metronome here, Zep Cannon. This Metronome is literally just a set Fairy Zone. That's pretty much it. I intended for this to be pretty much a faster battle, simply because of how fast you can really build up Diantha's abilities with Volo. You probably do want some luck in that aspect, but I mean, it's also not really necessary. I should have used Volo's Dazzling Gleam for a little bit more of a showcase, but still, it's fine either way. It's definitely faster than using like non-Signasu Wally partners for debuffing special attack, simply because needing special attack debuffs for your Mega Evolution Sync move is really annoying, but whatever, that's Diantha levels, right? That's just how Diantha goes. Whatever. We can use Bead's max move here as well to some great effect. I don't even remember what Bead's max move does. I really need to remember that. Either way. Oh yeah, it says AoE Confusion, doesn't it? Either way, doesn't matter. That's fine. We got him down. That's cool. And then we finish off here with the final Moonblast. 15,000 damage, right? So yeah, Volo can make Diantha look relatively impressive. Could she off-type? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not willing to try against Kalos Stadium, though, so... Sorry, but it's fine. I mean, I think it definitely conveys the point, right? Like, his ability to debuff stats is helpful. Even besides special attack, even debuffing special defense, combined with beads, special defense debuffing, you're doing pretty good for sure, right? And of course, setting Fairy Zone and actually supporting Diantha with the +3 crit and +4 special attack was helpful for making this battle go by faster, because otherwise you would have had to bring in support that is dedicated to buffing Diantha stuff, which, while not bad, Volo's trainer move doing it in one go is just better, right? Because Volo doesn't do too much damage anyway, other than like maybe land a Giga Impact or Hyper Beam on Metronome. Either way, whatever. Diantha buffing or Fairy buffing slash debuffing, right? Summer Marnie can also convey this point well, because she also wants special attack debuffs. Either way, let's go on and go to the next battle. Here's a battle that I did not expect to go as well as it did, honestly. We've got ourselves Renegade Cynthia and Eriott for Sinnoh ramping with the Sinnoh Solidarity Circle, as well as Flag Bearer Master Passive from Cynthia. And of course, obviously, both Eriott and Cynthia work together very well, so it's fine. Anyway. Could have been better to probably use Volo's buddy move on Eriott in order to, trainer move on Eriott to max her crit and stats and whatnot. But it's also good for Volo because this specific setup wants you to have both stadium parameters with, it wants you to have the physical and special damage reduction disabled because of Cynthia's nuke being physical, while her DPS and Eriott's DPS are special. So being able to make utilization of that and actually get some damage with Volo is, I guess, a decent showing. So that's pretty much what we did here. And then we reset the Ghost Zone because obviously we don't need Fairy Zone up for Cynthia's nuke. And then we're going to look at the damage here. So this is Cynthia's nuke again. Also consider Volo's able to deal with special attack and special defense, which is useful for Eriott and Cynthia's nuke directly. Yeah, -1 on the defense, -2 on the special defense. Did a really solid nuke for sure. And the sides didn't even have any debuffs, and they just went down, which is pretty impressive, realistically speaking. And the physical and special moves next is also very nice. Eriott's damage got increased really well from the special moves next buff from Volo in the circle and the Ghost Zone, right? So you can do a lot of good Sinnoh ramping. Like, this was under multiple conditions. Volo buffing special moves next. Volo applying the Sinnoh circle, which is a 20% power buff. Cynthia's Flag Bearer passive, which is another 20% buff. As well as the Ghost Zone, which is a 50% buff. On top of these characters' damage already being pretty decent as is. So you can really ramp up a ton of damage and damage potential just from these characters. Just from building them and I guess building them over the top, so to speak, right? So just really feeding them a lot of good food, just really giving them all the stuff that they can take in order to actually look a lot more impressive. It's basically similar to like maybe ramping with like special moves next or the physical moves next spam of Special Costume Steven. Building up all of these abilities combined can make even the worst characters look really strong, because do consider Cynthia's Shadow Ball at the end there did quite a lot of damage, despite the fact that it's Cynthia. Her Shadow Ball is not that impressive, but that made it look a lot more impressive, so that's fair enough. Anyway, yeah, let's move on to the next battle. Alright, what next better way to make use of Volo's debuffing ability than by maxing out a character, or, well, not maxing, but really ramping up a character who wants debuffing, who is not wanting to debuff, right? Because I think Anniversary End is a great example. There's a lot of characters with power play, but I feel the Anniversary End is a great example of a character that wants a lot of debuffs for power play, and devastation, and overpower, but he also does not want to debuff himself, right? He wants to use, he wants to, for one, buff his stats, as well as use Blue Flare, right? So you mostly want to not waste your turns using Noble Roar outside of this specific setup, of course, and you want to have someone else be able to do that debuffing for you. This setup I'm specifically using Noble Flare and just because you can get a ton of debuffs extremely quickly from doing it with Volo, right? You can get pretty much double the debuff efficiency. As proven here by the Sync move, which does 33,000 damage. It's pretty good for sure, especially if a character that has such a little offensive stat. And we also are able to really buff The Inferno's funny. The fact that we landed that without having any buffs. That probably would have KO'd if we had our offensive buffs. Either way, we got ourselves +3 special moves next on end, which enables that 15 to 17,000 damage with Blue Flare at the end there. So that was nice. So using Volo for debuffing utility is obviously extremely good. He's got great debuffing ability alongside his ability to actually be a tank. Because do note, in all of these battles, I've had Volo act as a tank, and he has survived with not too much issue. I mean, he got blasted by a flash cannon in that last battle and managed to survive surprisingly, so that's nice, thankfully. But whatever, either way, I mean, yeah, he can work as a tank. Not a amazing tank, but with some proper investment and some proper nodes picked up, you can work Volo as a tank because of all of his debuffing ability, his Fairy Zone Team damage reduction, the Sin of Solidarity circle, as well as the circle damage reduction node in his grid. He's got a lot of damage reduction abilities in order to make him take, well, less damage, as is previously implied, right? Right, here we are with Catherine and Penny, this time not using Volo as the support, surprisingly enough. Either way, this setup's not bad. I mean, this was just mostly me trying to empower Catherine because I, for one, never used her, and for two, she's a free-to-play option, right? Obviously, Penny takes away that free-to-play aspect, but I mean, she's also not really necessary. She just kind of helps convey the point a little bit more. But we're able to use Volo's abilities here for one, his nuke, right? He actually has a nuke, contrary to popular belief, or anyone with a brain's belief. Anyway, he has Brain Sync 5, which is solid, right? I mean, 50% multiplier, but that's kind of where it ends. He does have the Sin of Solidarity, which powers up ally attacks. He has his passive skill, which powers up all ally sync move attacks, which is good, right? 30% power buff to his sync move and allies, which is actually very helpful for sure. That's why Cynthia, earlier in the showcase, did a lot more than personally what I expected because of that 30% buff from, from Volo's passive. So that was helpful. We do get the nuke here, of course. Fairy Zone from being a fairy field character. 21,000 damage is not too bad, especially on top of all the debuffs that we do, so it does help out there. So Volo's nuke can look decent, right? Again, you've got that 30% buff to all ally sync moves, including his own. You've got Brain Sync 5, Sin of Solidarity Circle, Fairy Zone, right? I mean, he's got and special defensive debuffs. You can make him look relatively impressive on the nuking front, but of course, you could just slot in any other nuker, and they would look as at least equally as impressive, if not more so, assuming they're under the same conditions as Volo's under, right? I mean, that's just kind of how that goes. And that's why we're using Catherine here as our main nuker here for Drasna, right? With her about, what, probably 80% HP left after this. Anyway, we use Masterful Metronome to get rid of Drasna's Dragon Zone. That's why I've never used it until now, because once you do use Metronome, which is a status move, it will activate Fairy Zone the first time. So that's why, again, I waited until now to do it. So then we're able to also, again, use the same move with Catherine. Max evasion debuffs, max attack debuffs, which is her full nuke, pecking order, and whatever the evasion one is. 91,000 damage. And double down, right? And double down. 91,000 damage. That's definitely good for sure. So that's nice. Either way, it doesn't matter too much. We got the Dazzling Gleam in here to finish off Dragonite, about 13,000 damage. So, being able to even empower lower tier characters, Volo can do. Does he do it better than, like, Special Custom Steven or Neo Champion Rosa? Not Neo Champion Rosa, Special Custom Steven. I mean, he's more diverse, so maybe, kind of, maybe. Either way, whatever. He's good on that front, right? He's definitely good on that front. And being a fairy DPS / nuker, he can function. It's just not really what you're trying to look for Volo. Volo's big thing is his utility and his, I guess, hit-taking capability, which would have been made better with the support EX role, but alas, they did not. So, I mean, that's what we really made utilization of here. The debuffing, the Fairy Zone setting, the team sync move attack power up, right? All that stuff. So, yeah. Let's move on to the next bit of the showcase. Alright, so here is a free-to-play Sinnoh Circle ramping setup with Barry and Cyrus. We're hitting, yes, we are hitting through Malva's sun. Thing with Volo is that he can actually take these hits, not amazingly well, but also if she uses Overheat while sun is up, just reset, you're almost dead. Anyway. You can survive Dark Pulses, Flamethrowers, and Hyper Voices without too much issue because of the Sinnoh Circle and the Fairy Zone damage reduction once you actually get to be able to use Metronome, which is nice for sure. So that definitely does help out a lot with the tanking. Anyway, we're able to use Cyrus for his own self-sufficient buffing and doing his own damage, while we're able to buff up their damage, Barry and Cyrus, with special defense debuffs, Barry's Nuke specifically with speed debuffs, which in this setup we didn't get many of specifically, but I mean, if you want to reset and maybe get a better looking Nuke from Barry, you can do that. It's just, I went for the win. I got the win. I don't see much of a reason to try and go much harder on this, so either way, it works out. We're also, of course, able to buff special moves next, a universal truth of Volos, I guess, and also apply the crit and special attack buffs to Barry from using Volo's trainer move, which is helpful. So that does definitely make Volo's supportive ability look a little bit better, as we've already known, honestly. And Cyrus barely lived there, which is funny. Anyway, we are able to get up to -1 on the enemy's speed debuffs, which again, you can try and reset for if you want maybe a few more speed debuffs, but I just don't see the necessity in it. Just for the setup specifically, the point of it was being Sinnoh ramping, free Sinnoh ramping, and I think this is probably one of the better teams to do it, because Cyrus and Barry both being of the same damage dealing type, with Cyrus's Hydro Pump, Barry can handle the nuke, and then of course Volo taking up that supportive role. I think that works out pretty well for a free-to-play, quote-unquote, showcase bit for the free-to-play Sinnoh Circle, or for the Sinnoh Circle in general. I mean, Volo's Circle was helpful for that battle. I mean, he got the team attack damage reduction from Fairy Zone being up. He got the damage reduction from the Circle, which was very helpful for taking those those sun-boosted fire moves from Malva and her teammates, right? So, I mean, that did help out quite a lot. So, I guess that is a good showing for Volo's tanking as well, is the fact that he was actually able to not explode on impact from taking sun-boosted Malva attacks, right? Because Malva hits hard, just universally. It's crazy. And to finish off, let's fight ourselves another enemy who is bewitched all to hell with how much damage she can do. We've got ourselves Glacia. The final bit here is just circle ramping. That's all it is. It's using circles together and just having fun. I think a better showing would be if I utilized Wallace instead of instead of Silver here, but I wanted to do the double physical because they synergize better. That's just the truth. So I've got 3 different circles set up, the Johto, Unova, and Sinnoh circles, all of which are applying buffs to each other, as well as the master passives from Silver and Nate, as well as Volo's ability to debuff stats, as well as apply ally sync move damage with his passive skill, which is funny, at the very least. We also got ramping from Volo having Head Start 1 in the grid, plus Silver's Head Start 1. I think he's got -1 on the trainer move. That's what I did, right? I got Head Start 1 on Volo, -1 on Silver's trainer move, as well as the -1 from using Dark Black Outrage with Nate. And again, the big thing with this is not necessarily like the synergy, it's the ramp of physical and special moves next that you can do with this. Would replacing Volo with someone like Neo Champion Serena, Special Costume Steven, or like Signature Acerola or something be better? Yeah, probably, but it's funny, and that's really all that really matters at the end of the day, is the fact that we're able to get a +6 physical moves next boosted Dark Black Outrage, and just wipe the enemy clean. The amount of physical moves next spam you can do in short term is really funny, honestly. And then we can just finish them off here with Nate's sync move and, if anything, Silver Stone Edge. So this does look pretty funny at the very least. Plus, you get +1 physical moves next from using both Johto and Unova circles. You get +1 physical and special moves next for using the Sinnoh circle. You get +1 for using Volo's Buddy move. There's so much physical moves next being thrown around on this team that you can effectively just throw together 3 strong damage dealers, or at least 2 strong damage dealers in this instance, and just wipe the enemy flat. It does not matter really how much they have to synergize, it just matters that they're getting ramped up with physical moves next. That's the big thing here. So yeah, that's why this character worked extremely well. Anyway, we're going to move on to the the duo for Tornadus with Volo and Signature Cynthia here. This was fun, honestly. This was a fun stadium battle, and the showcase was pretty fun as well. I could have probably made some more setups, but I figured this is enough. This is sufficient in showing what Volo's supportive debuffing and other utility-based stuff is able to do. I figured this works out pretty well. Either way, let's move on to that Tornadus duo, and finish this out. And here we are finishing up. So, yeah, this solo or duo, again, I can't say solo. Duo is not too bad. I mean, you're using Cynthia, you're using Volo. I mean, Cynthia's able to paralyze, Volo's able to actually take hits. That's the best thing, and that's really all you can ask for. Volo does have solo potential. That's not saying too much, if we're being honest. He can solo, if I remember off the top of my head, Latios, Entei, maybe? I could be misremembering Entei, and Tapu Bulu. But those solos are so reliant upon getting luck, for the most part. Like, you really want to hope that Volo lands the right stuff with his buddy move. You really want to hope that he lands maybe accuracy debuffs, that type of thing, which is really annoying. So duos are definitely more suited for what Volo can do. He's really bulky. He's able to set bulk for the team. I mean, these bulk abilities, like, you can say they're not great in top tier content, like the ultimate battles and maybe even higher point stadium. That's fair. Totally understandable. But this is an area of expertise where Volo actually can take hits extremely well, and that is extremely useful for doing solos, but more notably duos, because of how fucking incapable of doing solos Volo is, just because of how random metronome is. Either way, this setup's not too bad. We're mostly just making abuse of Volo's debuffing to really just decimate Tornadus' ability to do any form of relevant damage to us. I'm pretty sure I have Antitoxin as the lucky skill, so we were immune to that poison. Alternate lucky skills you could probably run are like Stoic or something like that, maybe Vigilance if you're scared of crits, that type of thing. If you think you may be able to, get Tornadus paralyzed for the toxic or make it miss, whatever it may be, you can probably find some way or whatever to run a different lucky skill with Volo, but it doesn't matter. The setup is really, really consistent, assuming you get your paralysis luck, which that's pretty much all it is with Tornadus in general, so there's nothing new there. Probably was not best to use the Sinnoh Circle there, but I wanted to make sure that Cynthia was able to survive these more high-powered attacks from Volo towards the second bar, or not Volo, from Tornadus. Spoiler for the 5th anniversary event. Yeah. Anyway, from the third bar, right? Yeah, this is the third bar. I wanted to have them survive the heat wave. Have her survive the heat wave because that is going to be a crit. So having the circle up does help that out. And also, I ran Volo with Cynthia specifically just because she also applies the circle passive directly, right? Being a Sinnoh character, and also Volo and Cynthia team up. Cool. And this is I don't know if I want to consider this a solo that is too high investment or if it was average investment. I feel like there was probably a more higher end waste here in terms of actually doing a team conservative duo, right? Because you want to be able to preserve as many sync pairs as possible in the gauntlet situation. So maybe using Cynthia here with Volo with her level of strength was a bit of a waste. I don't know, either way it's a duo, so I can't really say too much. And this was like my 55th win, I think, in the Gauntlet. Yeah, 55th win. I have not done Gauntlet since. I need to do that. God, either way, whatever. Yeah, there's the grid for Volo. The grid for Volo mostly stays the same unless you want to do things like nuking with him. But if you want to do the same thing of like taking hits and debuffing, Volo's grid barely changes. It just depends what debuffs you need, because you maybe want to pick up Satisfied Snicker, you may want to pick up Overwhelm 9. You pretty much always want to pick up Sundering 9, right? As well as you want to probably pick up the Circle Damage Reduction, the Circle Extension. Those type of things are pretty universally necessary, I would say. But I mean, either way, there's a lot of different ways to build Volo. He is a jack of all trades character. We showed Volo nuking / damage, kind of. I did want to do a metronome ramping video or a metronome bit with Palatine's Elisa, but I just could not get that one to pan out, especially with what stages we had available to us. Volo was just, it was too inconsistent, for me personally anyway, but whatever. That's my look on Volo, honestly. He's a jack of all trades character. He's got damage, he's got debuffs, he's got supportive ability. He's got pretty much everything you would want out of that type of character. But the worst thing, in my opinion, is that he does not do it all to the maximum efficiency. Fairy Zone can be a problem if you're not in a shorter battle. Support EX roll would have been so helpful for actually giving his nuke viability, because again, you don't really want to use his nuke. It sucks. His nuke outside of that fairy video, or that fairy showcase, is not going to look that great. You really want the Fairy Zone up, though, for his team attack damage reduction, and obviously like all of his other abilities that are useful through Fairy Zone, and just the empowerment of Fairy Zone for allies, right? But I mean, either way, those traits all being subpar, Can it be annoying? Yeah. But is there still usage for Volo? Yeah. Does it just mean that he is the top, not the top option? Also, yeah. So what am I trying to say? I would say Volo is a character that is, if you're looking for a specific role, there are characters that are easily better than him in doing that role. But can they all do what Volo is able to do all in one kit? Probably not, but it's really up to you if you think that's worthwhile, especially in a game where team building is the biggest aspect. So having one character do everything, or try to do everything, may not look as valuable. If you want a physical and special moves next buffer, Neo Champion Rosa. If you want a debuffer, Neo Champion Leaf. If you want a fairy damage dealer, look down the roster. There's quite a few. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? Either way, though, I don't think Volo's bad, and I definitely don't regret pulling for him. I love the character. I'm not big on Togepi, and the kit's... I like the kit, man. I like the kit. Expect more things relating to Volo coming in the future, and yeah, that's all I gotta say. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Volo at 5 out of 5, 6-star EX, level 150, EX rolled, max grid energy. That's a fucking title, and yeah, I'll see you all later.